Coming up, I'm going to talk about my recent visit to Bay Lake Tower on this episode of the DVC Show. The DVC Show is brought to you by DVCstore.com. Since 1994, the DVC Store has sold more than 25,000 DVC resale contracts. Let their experts welcome you home to Disney Vacation Club. Head over to DVCstore.com to check out all their current DVC resale listings. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, Ms. Jackie Gailey.
Hi, everybody.
From the DVC Store, Mr. Jerry Saito.
Hello.
Also from the DVC Store, Ms. Jamie Carr.
Hello.
And joining us via Skype, Mr. Pete Scheidley, also known as Skier Pete on Disboards.com.
Hi there.
And I had to do, let me not go right into that. Got to do my little housekeeping first. Why do I always forget? It's like I've never done this before, okay? Always forget to do my little housekeeping. Encourage everybody to head over to disboards.com, check out our DVC forums, which I will say, since we started doing these shows, have gotten a lot busier, which I'm very happy about. Great information over there on any question you would ever have about Disney Vacation Club. Fantastic resource. We've also launched a new blog, dvcfan.com, as well as a new Facebook group called DVC Fan. So you should absolutely go check those out. All right, so I was going to have to be on property last week for an event with Walt Disney Travel Company, kind of around the 30th anniversary of Hollywood Studios. And they were going to put me up at Beach Club, and I figured, you know what, we need a resort review. So I grabbed one of my favorite rooms to stay at on Disney property over at the boardwalk, one of the cottage suites that's in the little courtyard area that most people don't even know exists. These are concierge level rooms, and it's, you know, you got a little living room downstairs, a wet bar in the kind of little kitchenette area, and then a loft bedroom upstairs. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And you know, because I'm a new DVC member and I've got a new toy to play with, I went on and I looked, and it just so happens that backing up right before that stay, there were 3 nights open at Bay Lake Tower in a 1-bedroom. So I grabbed it. 172 points for 3 nights in a 1-bedroom. So not exactly the cheapest room. I had a Lakeview room, which is a little misleading, because it's a Lakeview room if you do this. Okay? Doing this, it's a view of the other side of Bay Lake Tower. But it wasn't bad. Check-in, of course, is 4 o'clock. I got there at 3 and my room was ready. And I will admit I was a little nervous because, we stayed at Boulder Ridge, did our Boulder Ridge review, which if you haven't seen, go check it out, because that stars Mom, my mother. And while we enjoyed it, I was very concerned because the furniture in that room was run down. There was just no other way to put it. It was well past the time it should have been replaced. So I'm like, okay, what am I walking into here? Well, I walked into this room, and I'm like, oh, no, this is going to be a different experience. The first words out of my mouth. Fiasco, are you on camera?
I can be.
Oh, okay. Because he was... I'm sorry, I haven't been introducing you in these shows. Corey Fiasconaro back there is producing, while Craig watches Food Channel. I'm not supposed to say the other thing because people get upset. But Fiasco was filming, and Steve Porter was there as well. We all kind of had the same reaction walking into that room, like, wow. Like that first impression was unbelievable. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be different. And of course, the first thing I look at I've been doing this a long time. First thing I look at is the carpet. And not even the carpet itself. I look at where the carpet meets the baseboard. Because if you want to know how new a carpet is or how recently a room has been redone, just look at where the carpet meets the baseboard. Over time, what happens in your house, in my house, that's where dust and dirt will accumulate, and no vacuum cleaner is going to get it. No matter what you do, it's going to accumulate. So and it gets frayed, and, you know. So I knew just from that, this room was new. This room was recently redone. Furniture was perfect. I prefer these galley kitchens, the way they do them. There it's, kind of a U shape or an L shape with an island, as opposed to what they're doing now, like in Copper Creek, and I saw it's in Riviera too, where it's just kind of like against the wall. I don't like that. I prefer it, that galley style. And this was a galley style kitchen. I started using with the Boulder Ridge review, I started using the example or the phrase deluxe or deluxe adjacent. That Boulder Ridge did not measure up, in my opinion, to a deluxe resort. I'm going to say right now, unequivocally, this was a deluxe room. This was absolutely a deluxe room. It was phenomenal. Immaculate. The bedding was similar to what was in Boulder Ridge and is not the same bedding. Because I stayed one night, like I was there for 3 nights, and then I was over at the boardwalk in a deluxe room in the boardwalk, and the beds were different. The difference between this bed in Bay Lake and the one in Boulder Ridge was the one in Boulder Ridge, like everything else in that room, was worn. This one was newer, so it was a bit more comfortable. I have to talk about the cast members at Bay Lake Tower. Absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. Every single one of them. And I tell this story in the video that's going up with this, but I'll tell it again here. I like the room cold at night. It's got to be nice and chilly for me to sleep. If it's warm, I can't sleep. So I normally crank it down to about 65, 66, because I like it cold.
Yeah.
Well, this got cold. Like, cold. I'm like, oh, okay, no. I had to run downstairs real quick, so I ran downstairs. On the way back up, a housekeeper got in the elevator with me. And she was, very friendly and said hello, and she was going, oh, it's chilly in the hotel tonight. I said, yeah, my room, I just put the air down, and I'm going to have to turn it back up because it got so cold. But I need it cold when I sleep. And she asked me my room number, and I gave it to her. Because I think it's like she's thinking like maybe I know like that room has a particularly temperamental air conditioning system or something. And she says, yeah, these rooms have very good air conditioning systems. And she got to her floor and wished me a good night and went on her way. I went back to my room. 10 minutes later, knock on the door. Blankets.
Oh.
You talk about
Wow.
a level of service that, frankly, I haven't seen at Disney in a very long time. Very, very long time. That's old school Disney.
Yeah. You didn't even ask.
Didn't
That's
ask,
awesome.
didn't even, I just was having a conversation with her. And whether it was the front desk people, engaging them in conversation, a housekeeper in the elevator, or especially up at top of the World Lounge, oh my God, my server up there was fantastic. And that's a great reason to go to Bay Lake Tower, that lounge, boy. Open from 6 to midnight. And I had to nail people down on what the rules were because there's a lot of confusion about it. And I understand why, because outside, like on the elevators where you would go up to Bay Lake Tower, there's a sign that says you have to be a DVC member staying at a DVC property on points in order to get up there. Well, I asked the woman manning the elevator. I said, now, which is it? Because I've heard people say that if you're a DVC member staying anywhere on property, points or cash, doesn't matter. And she's like, that's correct. I said, then why does this sign? She's like, I don't know.
Yep.
But they are checking, they do check magic bands. All they're checking for is that you're a DVC member and you're staying on property. That's what they're looking for.
Did they ask you for your member card?
They did not.
Oh, I'm
They
surprised.
did not.
So that's interesting. That's the
That
debate
is
I thought you were
interesting.
going to bring up, because I've called member services several times to get this question answered for people who have the question. And I've been told the same thing several times. You have to be a DVC card-carrying member staying at Bay Lake Tower.
No. Because I did it.
That's definitely not true, because we've been up there and we haven't stayed at Bay Lake Tower.
Okay.
Same here. We've been up there, and we weren't even staying on property.
Well, we were. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because we're DVC. They just asked us for our membership card, and we showed it.
No, she was scanning magic bands.
Yeah.
And she was turning people away. She was turning people away that were not staying on property.
Interesting.
But we're
and-
staying on points and didn't show a membership card.
No, they weren't staying. They just weren't staying on property. They were members,
okay.
but they weren't staying on property, so they weren't allowed up. So it's not just the member card. You have to be staying on property, but it doesn't matter whether it's points or cash. So you could have a cash room with the All-Star. And if you're a DVC member, you and your party are allowed up. Now, I was staying at Bay Lake. And we did this when I stayed at Boulder Ridge with my mother, but we did the dining package, the fireworks dining package, where you have dinner at the Wave and then go up, and you have a special wristband.
Yeah.
So that also, but that's only available to DVC members staying on site. So, or maybe it's not on site. Maybe it's just DVC members. I don't know.
I know the one exception Jamie mentioned, only Bay Lake Tower members or owners, but for New Year's and I also believe 4th of July, right around that time, they do only allow people that are staying at Bay Lake Tower up to top of the world.
Oh, they'd have to, because it would be a nightmare,
Yeah.
an absolute nightmare. up
I
there.
think there's certain times of the year where they're sticklers about it.
But
Like when we went up, I think it might have been around January, February-ish, and there wasn't anything like there was.
well, I
not
think
very many
they
people.
get. I think they're probably a little less strict in the hours before fireworks, or even right after, because we went up. We went up at what, 6 o'clock, Corey? I think it was. Like
Yeah,
it was.
5, 6 o'clock, and we were like one other party there.
Yeah. So like, there was like. I mean, she checked and everything, but it didn't seem to be much of an issue. When it gets closer to fireworks time, there's a line outside that elevator, and in order to get up there. But that lounge is fantastic. That lounge, I mean, absolutely
I
fantastic.
love it. It's one of my favorite places to go at night. It's
It's
so cool.
it's awesome. I think there's so much more they could do with it. Personally,
Oh,
I think there's a
definitely.
lot more they could do with it.
So I've been up there one time. I don't recall. Do they just do like tapas, or is
Yeah,
it?
it's tapas style. It's like they have.
a full bar up there?
Full bar.
Yeah.
There's a full bar, but there's also, and I've got. We'll post it. The menu. They do this
And the off-
soft Bavarian pretzel with the beer cheese sauce, but this pretzel is like Jurassic pretzel. It's huge, and it comes out like on a hanger.
Nice.
And then they do like a
They had like a hummus, like with different sorts of vegetables and pita bread. That hummus
They did
was
it-
really good.
Yeah, they did a crudité platter that had a roasted red pepper hummus. It had a ranch dip,
And then some sort of like cheese dip that I went nowhere near.
a pimento. It was a pimento cheese dip that was absolutely out of this world. Yeah, he doesn't eat cheese at all.
Oh man.
And then we did like
We need to have a
they
show about that.
They have flatbreads, and lots of just like little nashi things that are not ridiculously priced considering it's Disney. And you can go out there and just have a beautiful panoramic view of the Magic Kingdom and the surrounding area. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous.
But even the interior, if you're not spending a lot of time outside, it's very ambient. You almost feel like you're kind of in your own you're having a conversation, but you're not in someone else's conversation. Even the interior. I mean, you go for the views, obviously, but the interior is still just a nice place to go and sit, have a drink, and a quiet conversation.
And it's kind of got a retro vibe to it. And I don't know. I think it's really probably one of the best perks of being a DVC member. As of right now, it doesn't matter whether you're resale or direct. All DVC members have access to this. So when I compared this stay overall, and one thing I want to mention, again, like discoveries as as a new DVC member. They have coffee makers in the room, like proper, they're Mr. Coffee makers, but it's a proper coffee maker. It's not the little, Breville 2-cup
Little pod
things. So I knew that, so I brought my filters and I brought my coffee and I brought the stuff to make my coffee. Not that there's anything special about my coffee, but we all like our coffee our way.
Yep.
I just didn't realize what a huge difference that makes to me in the morning, because I think about, the worst time at any resort for me is the moment I wake up having to travel somewhere to get my coffee.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm staying at a Disney resort, because invariably I am stopped by someone who watches the show or listens to the show and they want to take a picture. And so, like, I do the whole Liza Minnelli coming out of Betty Ford thing. I got the big hat on and the big sunglasses, and I'm keeping my head down, like, don't talk to me.
I need coffee first.
I need several cups of coffee before I'm ready to engage, and at least a shower before you take my picture. So, in contrast to my experience, like I said, people think, like, I hated Boulder Ridge. I did not at all. I really enjoyed Boulder Ridge. I just found the room to be wanting and in desperate need of a rehab, which apparently it's getting soon. Not the case at Bay Lake Tower. On a scale of 1 to 10, because I give nothing a 10, this is a 9.
Nice.
This was a 9. I had a very, very difficult time pinpointing anything to really knock off this. And I went out of my way for 3 days. I'm like, in 3 days, I got to find something.
Man.
I gotta find something. And
that's awesome.
And the only thing he could find back here,
which you got mad at me about, you didn't like that I found.
Well, it's not that I got mad at you for finding it. I'm like, okay, come on. We need to be reasonable when we do these things. There were some water stains. There was some, like, water spots on the glass of the shower.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, they didn't Windex it to within an inch of its life. I'm not knocking points for that. If it was, like, covered in hair, that would be a different story.
It's the Navy in me, Spirit of 76 every morning, washing stuff down.
Yeah.
That's why I noticed that.
Yep.
Okay, well, I mean, and I literally, like, he pointed this out to me, and I'm looking at the door, and I'm having to hold it in a certain light to be able to see. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, look, we need to be discerning, but we need to be reasonable at the same time. That, if there's not, like, mass amounts of hair in the drain, or 6-month-old bag of popcorn hanging out that was a Boulder Ridge. I'm literally on camera doing a tour of the kitchen. And I open up a cabinet, and there is an open bag of popcorn that had, like, hardened. This thing was like a brick.
So nobody had opened that cabinet recently.
That was my point.
Yeah. And I own there, so that's
so do I.
That's sad to hear.
So do I.
I do have to say, though, I think the refurbs that come through, they probably need to be done a little more often, because
Agreed.
I agree. We stayed at Boulder Ridge, I think it was about a year ago, and I agree with what you saw there. It was worn down, and it was not in the best of shape. I had a similar experience at Beach Club. We stayed there in 2015. That was one of our first ever stays, and that room was also very worn down at the time. We then went back again last year to Beach Club, and they had done the full refurb, and it made a huge difference.
Difference.
Huge difference.
And that's
in terms of the room.
that's what I'm looking forward to at Boulder Ridge, because I know that's coming. And what somebody explained to me was that the rehab schedule for these resorts is soft goods at 7 years and a full refurb at 14.
Oh, I never knew that. Interesting.
And that is, whereas Disney hotel rooms themselves go through full rehabs by 7 years.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a lot of years.
So 14 years before you do appliances and the infrastructure stuff, that's an awfully long time.
It
Especially
kinda
when they
is,
get
yeah.
this kind of traffic.
Oh, yeah.
There's
'cause
no
they're-
break.
Definitely.
There's no break. If there was a break and things getting used,
Right. That's what
and
I
if
was just
that
thinking.
schedule was originally built around not, only a few resorts, not having the amount of members, then that would be understandable. But that room is used pretty much every day by someone.
Right. So,
And as much cleaning as they're doing, that wears it down. I mean,
but as far as Bay Lake Tower goes, I got to tell you, absolutely incredible.
let me ask you something. If you hadn't researched, you know how we always say just a little bit of research goes a really long way. And for those of us who enjoy coffee, coffee is a really big deal, right? So if you hadn't done that little bit of research and known about that coffee pot before you came,
Well,
I
there
wonder
was.
if
I mean,
it would have been a difference.
Well, there's
'Cause it
still.
wouldn't have
I
been-
mean, there's
still coffee there,
well,
but it's
I mean,
not yours.
You can go but they do have the Joffrey's coffee.
Yeah.
Down, over in the main building. That was my one big complaint. That if I had to go get coffee, I was going to have to take the Iditarod over to the main building.
Yeah.
There was nothing in Bay Lake Tower itself
Right.
to get coffee. So,
I think that's the only consistent feedback on that resort is that it was built to feel, as they do with everything, more like home. So you're a little more separated. But then when you're a little more separated, as you said, if you don't want to put on your floppy hat and your
You know
giant
what?
glasses,
Yeah.
then you got to trek over to
But you know
another
what? It
building.
wouldn't kill them to put a coffee cart
Yeah.
from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. with some pastries and some coffees out in the courtyard for sale.
Yeah.
It wouldn't kill them.
No, it'd be good.
So,
They do that in Kidani. I remember last year they had a little something set up. 'Cause
well, this was also a complaint of mine at Olani.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter hotel side or DVC side. In the main tower, there was no place to get coffee. You had to go down to the little cafe. I can't remember the name of it. And the one morning, it was like a monsoon.
Oh my goodness.
So to get your coffee, you're getting wet. So now, not only am I just out of bed, not only is it 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and I haven't had my coffee, but to get my coffee, I got to walk through that. I was not amused.
No, yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
So,
I mean, that can ruin my day. Like, I am all about coffee. in
and
the
believe
morning.
me when I tell you, it was mentioned to more than one person.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's my impressions. Those are my impressions of Bay Lake Tower. We have some other videos going up along with this. Please check those out. And that will do it for this episode of our show. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you again next week with another edition of the DVC show. Have a great week, folks.